Today on CityCast Denver. Breakfast burritos are such a staple of Denver cuisine, we almost take them for granted. They are everywhere, from gas stations to diners to one of our dozens of takeout Mexican joints around the city. But we wanted to know who makes the best ones and what exactly makes the best breakfast burrito. Today is Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. I'm Bree Davies, and this is CityCast Denver.
Welcome back to CityCast Denver. I'm Paul Caroli. I'm here with our host, Bree Davies.
Hi, Paul.
Our other producer, Alexander McMahon.
Hello.
And our newsletter writer, Peyton Garcia.
Hi.
Peyton and Alexander are in the front seat of our mobile recording studio today because we are on location near Brighton Boulevard, just outside the Rhino Art Park, where we ate a whole mess of breakfast burritos. And we're going to pick our favorite, pick the best one in the whole city. It's high stakes, it's important business, and we should get to it right now. Bree, let's start with you. Set the table for us. What makes a good breakfast burrito?
I think Peyton would disagree with me on this aspect, but to me it's like the handheldness of a breakfast burrito, because often you're like eating it in the car, on the way to somewhere, you're bringing it to a group of people. I don't know why that's what a thing we do with breakfast burritos, but like I feel like if I'm getting breakfast burritos, I'm like picking up a bunch. So the fact that they're portable is important. The ratio of ingredients is important. And I think we'll talk spice level too. That tends to be
absolutely
something integral to a breakfast burrito to me.
Yeah, so you got potatoes, you got eggs, you got a protein. And that handheld nature. I mean, I also agree that that's pretty important. But there's that other type.
This exterior smothered.
Eat it on a plate type. Also a breakfast burrito.
Yes, which is like a Colorado-style burrito in general.
So, Peyton, how did we choose the 4 burrito places that we sampled this morning?
Well, it was a very scientific process. First thing we did was we put out a call to our listeners and our readers asking for their recommendation for best breakfast burrito in the area. And we were slammed with answers. There were so many. We're only human. We could not do them all. So what I did was I listened to all of the voicemails and the emails, and I tried to find overlap, which there was not a lot of. And then I did some research, some Googling for lists of best breakfast burritos in Denver. And then I tried to find overlap in that way. So I tried to find burritos that were both recommended by our listeners and on these lists that I Googled. So that's how we got the 4 burritos that we tried this morning.
So do you think listeners are going to be disappointed to not hear their favorite? Like, how do we address the fact that there's like a zillion breakfast burrito places and we tried 4? What do we say about that? Sorry.
Yeah. I think we say
that was my concern.
Well, why don't we play a few of the responses we got just to give them a shout out in the episode?
I like that.
Hi, this is Carol in Virginia Village, and my favorite breakfast burrito is at Little Anita's New Mexican restaurant.
Hi, this is Jake from Uptown calling regarding the breakfast burrito reconnaissance, and I wanted to submit for your consideration One Fold at 1420 East 18th Avenue.
Hey y'all, this is Hamilton. I live in Ruby Hill. I just wanted to shout out the breakfast burrito at Fritanga's, like Alameda and Federal.
Hey, this is Audrey Young out in the Wheat Ridge area. I wanted to call and give a shout out to Bonfire Burrito out in Golden. I've been a big fan of Santiago's, but when I found Bonfire Burrito in Golden, and I had the Chupacabra, and the Chupacabra for Bonfire Burrito is the best breakfast burrito that I've ever had.
All right, let's get into it. Alexandra, you went to What place, and tell us about it.
Okay, I went to La Casita. I bought a few burritos there. Good mix of some meat, vegetarian for Paul.
Thank you.
So a little bit of backstory. La Casita has been around in Denver for like 40 plus years. And the restaurant's actually owned by councilperson Amanda Sandoval's family. And they describe their food as New Mexican style. And I'm kicking myself now because when I was getting the burritos, I was going to ask, like, hey, what kind of chilies do you use? I mean, I think it's safe to say they probably use Hatch chilies since they describe their food as New Mexican. But I wanted to know if they do use Pueblo chilies because that's, the great chili debate. So, yeah. And, other fun fact, they won a Westward Best of Denver award in 2019 for their tamales. Because this place is technically, the full name is Tamales by La Casita.
Interesting.
So their big thing is tamales. And I was seeing stuff online that around the holiday season, I mean, the line is like out the door and down the block for people trying to get tamales.
Well, what did we all think about La Casita's breakfast burritos? Bree, how about you?
It was good. I thought their chili had the most spice of the burritos that we tried today. I thought it was a nice level, a little bit hotter than the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
The egg and potato mix was a little overpowering, I think. But
overpowering how so? Because I have a note on this.
You do. I thought there was too much of it percentage-wise in the burrito. That was my take on it.
For
at
me,
least
it was
on the meat side.
Potato specifically. This was like just a big bites of potato.
Yeah.
I was not
But it
happy.
was like mashed potato. It wasn't like the like cubes that you normally get in burritos. And that I kind of liked that. It was like it made the consistency of the burrito very kind of like soft and mushy, which maybe some people wouldn't like that. I liked it.
Yeah, I felt like it was definitely the most unique burrito out of the 4 we tried, just in the sense that, the potatoes were not cubed. They were more of a consistency like mashed potatoes, and the eggs appeared to be mixed in with the mashed potatoes. And I also felt like there was kind of a lack of like bacon and cheese. So I agree with you, Bree, that I just think the potatoes dominated percentage-wise, ratio-wise.
But I will say I kind of liked that their eggs were not as like that they were kind of mixed in more, because I don't know, I'm weird about eggs with my breakfast burritos. Like I just don't like it when it's like so much egg in my mouth and I feel like that's all I can taste. And so I kind of liked that there was less egg in this burrito. And then just going back to Bree's note about the chili, I thought the chili was so good. I thought this was like a perfect amount of heat for me, but I know that not everyone in this car can handle really spicy stuff.
Okay, she's talking about me, and I will say it's hard for me to have notes on the chili because I do feel like I had my first burrito and the level of spice it had, just like then my tongue couldn't tell. The rest of the burritos, I have no opinion on the spice level because it all just tasted hot.
Well, the vegetarian option here was red chili, so I didn't even taste this green that you all are talking about. It sounds nice. Red chili was fine. Not very spicy, not a lot of flavor. Overall, this was not my favorite burrito.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever had a breakfast burrito with red chili in it. Yeah. I only associate breakfast burritos with green chili.
Same.
No, I mean, for a little bit backstory, when I was ordering, they threw me for a curveball because I was like, can I have a vegetarian burrito? And they were like, do you want red chili in that instead of green? And I was like, well, is there meat in the green? And they were like, yes, but we could strain it out.
That was nice of them to offer.
But it was very nice. So,
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, I don't know what Paul wants, so I gave you the red chili. Sorry, it wasn't very good.
I wonder whose dietary restriction that serves, straining the meat out of the chili. Not me.
No.
Not me. Let's move on. Peyton, how about you? Where did you go and what did you think about it?
Okay, so I went to Bubba Chino's, and part of the whole reason we want to do this burrito battle debate is because I will die on my Bubba Chino's hill. I think it is the best place to get breakfast burritos in the entire state of Colorado. And there's a whole big messy backstory that I'm sure a lot of longtime Denverites are aware of. Stella Cordova bought the Chubby's Burger Drive-In on 38th back in 1967, and she started selling her burritos and her famous green chili out of it. and it was a hit. It was huge. People loved it. And then her family is huge. She had 10 kids, and they all had a bunch of kids. And a bunch of cousins and grandkids and kids started opening Chubby's locations all over the state. So there's a bunch of them, and they're not completely affiliated with each other. There's like 15, I think, right now in Denver.
Wow.
But then there was this whole thing where one of the grandkids opened Chubby's Bubbachinos on Federal, and he was working with one of the grandsons that now runs the original Chubby's, but then they got into a big fight, and the Chubby's grandson sued the Bubbachinos grandson, so he had to change his name to just Bubbachinos. And then he franchised it and opened a bunch of Bubbachinos locations, including the one in Brighton, which is the one that I go to. And I think there is a huge difference. I refused to let Bree pick up burritos from the one on Federal because I just think it's different. I've had them once, and it's just not the same. I think the B-Town version is where it's at. That's where I grew up. I was raised on B-Town Bubbachinos. But what's interesting is I went in this morning and I asked the guy a little bit about... I asked if Leonard was there. Leonard is the grandson that franchised Bubbachinos and was sued and had to change the name. And he said, we're not affiliated with Leonard anymore, which I didn't realize.
I love the beef that just continues in this family.
It's crazy. There's been a lot of suing. And right now, I actually think Bubbachinos at one point had a handful of locations around the metro area. When I asked the guy, he said he thinks there's only just the one other one, which is on Federal, because that's still a Bubbachinos, right?
Yeah, it's right by my house. Yeah.
And they're actually not affiliated. So what it sounds like is they both kind of just became independent of each other, and I think that's why they probably taste so different. So this is me advocating for the B-Town Bubbachinos. I love it. The vibe is great. I grew up there. They're very... They are very involved with like the local school, and they have photos of all these different students from Brighton and Prairie View hanging on the wall. The students that went to serve in the military, including one of my stepbrother. He went and served in the Navy after high school, and he's got a photo of him. So anyways,
that's cool.
That is kind of the very short version of the history of Bubbachinos and Chubby's. It's really interesting. Try Googling it. Westward had this really great 5-page article about the whole thing, but it's interesting.
All right, and we should say this was not the handheld style. This showed up in a styrofoam container. This burrito was smothered with cheese and chili.
So you can get it handheld, but I broke the rules because I like to order it smothered. And it's all about the green chili there at Bubbachinos, so I had it delivered to the team in a styrofoam container, fully smothered.
How'd we feel about that?
I mean, I gotta say, so usually I'm a cheese in my burrito, and in the breakfast burrito case, I like my chili in the burrito as well. But Bubbachinos' cheese ratio was off the charts, and I loved it. I thought it was it was like a nice coating along with the chili. Their burrito, too much tortilla. It's a really giant tortilla.
I had the same experience with mine.
It was just a wad of tortilla in my mouth. But the cheese and chili part was definitely my favorite.
Yeah, the cheese was really good. I will say, I mean, I normally liked smothered burritos. Like, I'm all about it. But with the breakfast burrito stuff, I think because you've got a lot of dry ingredients on the inside, like it's just like bacon and potatoes and eggs. And so when I was cutting into it, it was just kind of all falling out. Like I needed some like cheese or chili or something in there to kind of keep the consistency together, to keep it all glued together so that I could get it in one bite. And so, but the other thing that I did love though was the bacon was super crispy and just really cooked well.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel like their ingredients are really, like, made that morning really good. And you don't have to worry about it falling apart if you're like me and you just smash your face in and inhale it.
Oh,
it doesn't
okay.
matter.
Yeah,
so it was using error.
Oh, okay,
so.
Okay.
Paul, what did you think of your experience?
Just terrible. Just terrible.
Oh.
I think
I'm gonna
Paul
walk away,
didn't
Paul.
get a smothered though
no.
because he got the vegetarian.
Yeah, And here's where I think this is like the one point I have to make about the whole conversation. I don't think breakfast burrito as a category works for vegetarians right now.
Yeah, I
I
can see
think
that.
without green chili inside, if you're not making a vegetarian green chili, to have something with a little bit of moisture inside, just cheese, egg, and potato inside a tortilla is going to always be dry.
Very dry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
my
you guys are
mouth
totally
is-
gonna judge me, but like growing up, when I would get bubbachinos, I always got them dry because I didn't like the chili; it was too hot. Now I love the chili, but what you'll learn about me is I really like things that are like kind of dry like that. I like things that are like kind of burnt. So I beg to differ. I freaking loved a dry ass tortilla filled with like dry ass ingredients, but that's just me. I'm a
You're
weirdo.
losing your credibility as our foodie.
I know.
I
I
know. It's like
know.
you're our resident foodie, and you're like,
I have-
I love a dry burrito.
I have quirks, okay, guys.
All right, Bree, let's move on to you. Where did you go? What'd you think about it?
I went to Tamale Kitchen, and I am a Tamale Kitchen fan. My family goes there quite often, but we don't go there for breakfast burritos. In fact, I didn't know they had them because if you've ever been to a Tamale Kitchen, there's 8 of them. The menu is insane. It's giant. It's complicated. There's all these different ways you can order things. It's not really explained. And so we usually do like the family pack of tamales, beans and rice, chili and stuff. So I was pleasantly surprised by how good I've just never had their breakfast burritos, and I thought they were delicious. I really loved the mixture. The ratio was great of everything. The bacon was really nice. It was not skinny, crappy little pieces of bacon. It was really nice pieces of bacon, and it was just the right amount of spice. It wasn't super spicy, but I thought I was not let down by a place that I eat other things at. I also am now a fan of their breakfast burritos.
What did y'all think about the tortillas on the Tamale Kitchen burrito?
Yes, I was gonna say that. I feel like the biggest. I felt like it was very similar to Santiago's, which is the other burrito that we tried. But I felt like the biggest difference was their tortillas. They were really thick, which indicates to me that they're made in house. I don't know that for sure. That's just my guess. But the tortillas felt thicker, maybe a little more handmade. But
I feel like there's something about the way they wrapped them too. Like on a Santiago's burrito, the way they wrap them, they don't like do a lot of folding of the tortilla.
No, it's
at the
like can
ends.
be a kind of precarious situation with the Santiago's burrito, but the Tamale Kitchens, you're right, were like a package.
Yeah, you're trading the messiness of not a lack of a tight fold for the first bite always being mostly tortilla.
And I should say a little on the history. I somehow don't know anybody connected to the family that runs Tamale Kitchen, but they have 8 locations. They started door-to-door tamale sales in 1980 and opened their first spot in 81. And now they have 8 locations. Like I said, the menus are all a little bit different, so you may not get the exact same thing, but it's similar in concept across the board. So,
Any other big points about Tamale Kitchen? This probably my favorite one.
Really?
The flavor.
This,
Yeah.
I don't know. This might have been my least favorite one. I'm sorry. Just because the chili was so mild and I didn't think it had a ton of flavor. And also, I felt like the chunks of bacon in the burrito were a little overpowering. Like, I feel like I'd bite into it and all I tasted was bacon.
Let's move on to our final spot, Santiago's, the king, the heavyweight contender, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'll say right off the top, I did this wrong. I went to the one on Leetsdale. Instead of ordering the protein of the day, I went with bacon to try to standardize among all the orders. We talked about this beforehand. You're welcome, listeners. We prepared for this. And they charge double for when you get a protein that's not their like protein of the day. So instead of $3, these reach $6. Thank you, CityCast.
wow,
wow.
Isn't
didn't
that
know
odd?
that.
Also, it takes longer.
that is odd.
If you don't order like the main thing
I
that they're serving,
I feel like it's because of the volume that they do.
for sure.
Like, they're like, we do so much breakfast burrito volume that we've got to do something across the board every day, or this is going to be a nightmare. If
Yeah.
everybody is ordering some kind of different meat, it's all over the board. But like, I can see why they're like, if you want something outside of what we're doing, it's going to cost you because it screws up our like process.
Yep, That's exactly what happened here. What did you Santiago's? I don't know. What needs to be said? There's like 30 locations. It started in Brighton, woman owned. They do a lot of charity. Who doesn't love Santiago's?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, and much like Peyton's favorite B-town favorite is Bubbaccino's, I also grew up, half of my childhood was spent in Brighton, and Santiago's was the first breakfast burrito I ever had, and it's still my favorite.
I think it makes for a good second when I can't get down to Brighton for Bubbaccino's. It's okay. It's good.
What did we think about the Santiago's burrito? Alexandra, how about you?
I'm gonna start with the chili heat because that's the most important thing to me. Thought it was good, medium chili heat, not like super spicy, not super mild. I liked that there was like big strips of bacon in there.
Yeah.
That was cool. And but my biggest complaint was the eggs. Again, I said earlier, like I'm weird about eggs. They tasted like they'd been sitting out for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I would think in somewhere that does the volume that Santiago does, they're not. I would imagine they're not making burritos to order.
For sure.
So it's like,
I mean, I don't blame them. It's like,
Right.
yeah, you got to keep up with the crowds, but like, not my favorite kind of eggs.
Bree, how about you? Santiago's. What'd you think about the breakfast burrito?
It was my favorite, honestly. I was trying to not be biased going into it because, like I said, it was my first breakfast burrito. It's my favorite breakfast burrito, but I think the ratio is good. The bacon was great. I think the chili's the right amount of heat. I'm not particular about my eggs. I've realized in this conversation, I eat eggs every day. I will eat them pretty much anyway. So, yeah, I thought my only complaint about Santiago's is what you brought up, Paul, that it can kind of get a little messy because they don't really fold the burrito. And again, I feel like this is an efficiency thing where they're just like, put that burrito together, get it out the door.
First bite, last bite. Those are sometimes problems at Santiago's for sure.
Yes.
Alexandra, how about you? What was your favorite? We've heard Bree's. We've heard Peyton's. What do you think?
I think my favorite was La Casita. I mean, I didn't go into the day expecting that to be my favorite. I've never tried it before. I usually just eat Santiago's breakfast burritos, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I think they made a new regular customer out of me. I will go back and keep buying as long as their green chili stays as hot as it was today.
Nice. And me, I don't know. They're all so similar. For vegetarians, like I said, this is like, it's not a fun food category. So whatever's closest, I guess, to my house or where I am at any given time, that's the best breakfast burrito for me. And I think that's probably what the responses we got from our listeners reflects as well. Everybody has their favorite. Everybody has one that's probably just close to their house and convenient. That's what breakfast burritos are all about. Do we have consensus?
No.
Is that okay? Yes.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Like what you heard? Tell a neighbor about us. Or better yet, leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts. Want even more news? Subscribe to our morning newsletter at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye-bye!
Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
There's a real situation.
There's
happening next to.
yes.
Someone parked another mobile studio next to our mobile studio.
Yeah,